11:10 the time, and thanks for joining us for another COVID-19 discussion. Welcome to the listeners of DBS Radio, Q9 to 5, Voice of Life Radio, Kyrie FM, and Vibes Radio. Of course, as always, we try and bring you as much information as possible, and today will be no different as we have with us in studio the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Blue and Green Economy, Agriculture, and National Food Security, Dr. Reginald Thomas, and also in studio the Chief Environmental Health Officer, Tassie Thomas. Any relation? All right, that is, now I've given you an assignment, so now you're supposed to go check out the family tree and see if there's some relation there, right? Thank you for joining us this morning, the both of you. And, as we always do, we'll start the program off with a little bit of discussion, and then we will open the phone lines for some questions and comments. Before we get into the discussion, let's just reflect a little bit on so much information that's been put out there, and so much of the precautionary measures that we've been advising people to take, and we can't stress those enough. So once again, I'd like to stress those again. Of course, we're advocating for physical distancing, whether it be in the lines when you go to the supermarkets to pay your utility bills, wherever you are, even on the buses, we're advocating for physical distancing. Proper hygiene is also something that we're stressing. That includes hand washing. That also includes respiratory etiquette, the way you cough and sneeze. And we'd like for you to continue to do that in your flexed elbow or using a tissue that you can dispose of as soon as you're done. So if we continue to exercise all of these practices, we'll be able to flatten the curve here in Dominica. And of course, last count, we were still at 16 confirmed cases, with 8 of them having recovered. And we have 8 more who are awaiting their retests, so to speak. And if those do come out negative, then they will all have been classified as recovered. So let's get into today's discussion. Every sector has been impacted drastically by this COVID-19 pandemic, and the agricultural sector is no exception. And that's why we have the PS of Agriculture with us this morning. PS, the farmers are very concerned. They're very concerned because they are part of the self-employed group, and we know that that grouping is probably the most affected by this because a lot of them can't make their daily bread. So PS, but I know that the Ministry of Agriculture has put mechanisms in place to assist. So let's talk a little bit about that. What can you tell the farmers out there who are very concerned about their livelihood?
All right, a pleasant good morning to the listening public, and thank you for affording me the opportunity to speak on agriculture. As indicated and by the name of the ministry, national food security remains of paramount importance to us, and is part of our direct responsibility. The farming, we need food. We continue to need food, and so we really want to thank our farmers for holding strong and continuing to produce despite the circumstances, but also even our fishermen who are out there and who continue to go out at sea and to bring in fresh fish for our consumption. Within the provisions of the SRNO, we made arrangements were made to allow the farmers to continue their critical operations. And I would like to underline critical, because while that is understood, social distancing is most critical. And it makes no sense to them and their own families if they get exposed and cannot continue their activities. So there are provisions in place to allow for critical interventions at the farm level, but to always maintain the social distancing as prescribed by the Ministry of Health. So for us, it is more of, we play more of a collaborating role with the ministry at this point in trying to understand or to provide for our farmers to allow them to enter onto the farms and make the critical interventions that needs to be made. Um, I would go on further to say again that food security, while food security, national food security is important as we consume, but also the quality of foods that we consume is also going to be critical. And so particular attention needs to be paid to balancing our diets. If we have a healthy body, then we can always fight that fight, whatever disease is there. If it's a healthy body, then your immune system is stronger and would therefore allow you to be able to combat whatever disease or other physiological impact that may come on the body. So this is critical for us, and the ministry continue to work with the farmers. We continue to provide whatever technical information that can be provided, so that the farmers can continue their work. And critically for the country, for the economy, we still need to maintain exports. We still need to feed the other people, our brothers and sisters, or even our Dominicans over in the Northern Caribbean, for example, who have depended on Dominica for food. And so we continue. We would like to would like the farmers to continue to produce so that food can be exported. As I said, to feed the people, but also as a means of sustaining our economy, sustaining ourselves, sustaining our livelihoods, continuing our own livelihood. So this is where we are as it relates to agriculture and meeting our food security needs.
All right. Now, let's zone in on one of the very specific programs that you have in place, and that's to encourage more backyard gardening. And I know that, the ministry is focusing on that and trying to provide the necessary resources to the farmers, or even to the common man. Maybe you're not a farmer by trade, but you're interested in backyard gardening, and tell us a little bit about that.
So again, when this the pandemic started, we in the ministry began our own planning processes, and so we decided, well, okay, a healthy body is going to be critical at this point, as I highlighted earlier, and we imagined the population at home having no other activity but some in terms of being able to tend for some crops. And so we came up with the concept of a backyard program. No, that is not contrary to our other programs directed at our actual main producers. Is intended for the backyard, for somebody with a backyard and can hold some plants, but it also allows for innovation. So there is the opportunity to do container farming. There's the opportunity to do vertical farm. So the idea is to create that environment to allow the household to sustain its own food and nutrition security, because as I indicated, we are very focused on a balanced set of crops. So we are that particular program, as I said, is not a commercial program to make you rich, but to look at your own specific home food and nutrition security. So the intention is to get a few food groups, get the main food groups, so the leafy vegetables, the cucurbits, what we call the cucumbers and the pumpkins. We're looking at some sweet corn, some beans. So it's a mix of crops to allow us again to create that kind of food and nutrition security at the home level. We also have been in discussions with or looking at our other programs. Many of us have heard of the World Bank program, and so we that program has actually started. It started prior to the pandemic. So it is how we were looking at how do we make it also address some of the wider food security needs and the expanding as it relates to export of agricultural commodities. So we're looking at these farmers who have so far benefited or will benefit, and to look at other programs, other support that could be given to them to allow for them to continue or expand the kind of production that we will need as we go forward. None of us are actually clear as to when these things will change. And as such, we want to look at the complete population. So we're looking at the households, we're looking at the main producers, we look at the macro level and look at the macroeconomic indicators, and to ensure that we use agriculture across the spectrum as it relates to meeting its needs and meeting to the needs of the population and our the people who depend on us for exportable items.
Of course. Now, if I'm interested in being a part of that program, how would I be able to do that?
So we have launched a Facebook page. So we actually have a form that is online, and we allow for people to subscribe to the program. I will get the exact information for you in a while, and we also have our numbers, our main offices at the Botanic Gardens, at the other agricultural stations also accept information. Part of it is to know your state of readiness, know the amount of space that you have to allow for us to come up with the correct set of numbers of plants for you. We also want to state clearly that not everybody has the capacity to, nor they have the time or the desire to be part of it. We recognize that. There are people who are homebound and not able to participate, even if they would like to. And so we also basically depending on the consciousness of our population, to those of us who can participate, that we look out for the most vulnerables around us. So yes, you have pumpkin, but you have several pumpkin. Look out for the
Right.
granny in the community. Look out for the other vulnerable person next to you. So it is intended to create that kind of look out for each other during this pandemic time. So we are just participating and as I said, collaborating from a wider community point of view to allow for this whole food and nutrition security as we go through this very difficult time in our history.
Okay, thank you so much, P.S. Thomas. Now, Tassie, let's get to you because the Environmental Health Department also plays a very integral role here. And, people are often tempted, like whenever we hear of agriculture farming, when you're clearing of your land, you might be tempted to burn to clear off that land because maybe you have a little, some, let's say 300, 500 square feet in the back of your house. You want to clear it. Well, you don't want to be there weeding. You might want to burn. But isn't that detrimental, though, to our most vulnerable people?
Okay, let me first say good morning to the public, wherever you are listening at this moment. Pleasant good morning to you. And as you rightly said, yes, but what we find is that people are not really burning land per se, clearing land and burning. What is very disturbing is that in the past 2 weeks, the department has gotten a number of complaints from the public where people are doing open burning of rubbish in their backyards.
Okay.
And this is very, very much disturbing because let me first say that COVID-19 is an acute respiratory illness which is caused by a virus, and this virus affects the lungs. So if you are burning, you're filling up the area, the community with smoke. My lungs is already filled with smoke, and I got an attack of the flu or maybe, God forbids, COVID-19. It's going to take you straight to the cemetery or to the hospital where you have to be immediately placed on a ventilator. We do not want these situations occurring among us. So there are times when we have had people put off these burning bushes, these rubbish, and so on. You'll find one home has how many piles of rubbish burning at the same time. I'm saying, yes, you're at home, you want something to do, you have nothing to do. Okay, all of a sudden you see, well, there are stuff you need to take out from your closet or from your basement or from your backyard and you need to burn. Let me tell you, unless you have a vehicle waiting to take this stuff to the landfill, do not pile them up. Because when you pile it up in the first place, you're creating harborage for rats. And remember, we may have COVID right now, but we still have to concentrate on the other diseases because rats in themselves, they can cause the disease leptospirosis. And we don't want to be dealing with all of these ills in our society right now. So what I'm saying, if you are not taking these things to the landfill right away, do not burn them, do not pile them. You're creating problems for your neighbors, you're creating problems for the health sector. It's a burden for the health sector on a whole. When you practice these things like burning of rubbish and so on in the open. So you do not pile in your backyard, do not pile on your boundaries, and do not pile in the neighbor's backyard. Because we know, well, some person might have an empty lot nearby. It's not their property, but they see it as an opportunity to burn. Let me tell you something. Now that you are at home, some of you may be without a job. Some of you, your jobs might be threatened. Now is the time to save an extra dollar. Now is not the time to be stupid and wasting money. For example, look what we had last week. People congregating on the road and having a party, a wet fete, and so on, putting other people at risk. Now, every one of them have to either pay a $500 fine, which they might not have, and end up in prison. Please, people, don't be stupid. There is a fine attached. The law will deal with you if you are found burning in the open. We investigate these complaints, and right away we have people put out the fires. But the Department of Fire has laws where they can take you to task, where you may be fined, and it might not just be $500, but $5,000. Please, people, save your money. Do not practice open burning of garbage. Rubbish, sorry.
All right, thank you so much. So, but one of the things that you encourage, though, okay, you might not be able to do that with the plastics and so forth, but composting is a very good alternative to the burning, right?
Yes. That is another thing we encouraged. Composting of your waste. Okay, solid waste has not gone out of business. Solid waste comes and they pick up your garbage at an appointed time, and we have not had any complaints where solid waste is unable to pick up anybody's waste. You need to do your backyard gardening, especially now that agriculture has a program of backyard gardening in place. You need soil, you need manure and this kind of thing to really get your backyard gardening going. So the best thing to do is to compost. And what is composting? You are in the kitchen preparing your food. You do not put all the food peeling, the fruit peeling, the vegetable waste. You don't take everything and just throw in the garbage and put it out for solid waste. You have a backyard program coming on. You get a box, you get a bin sort of, and you put all this kitchen garbage in there, and then you throw a little soil over it, and then you sort of maintain it so that you have cover it nicely, let it decompose nicely in order that you have nice material for your backyard gardening. So you can compost your waste. The plastics, the cardboards, what I am saying, all these things can be picked up by the solid waste management.
Right.
Also, we have a very small truck. I'm not really advertising, but we do the pickup of white goods in Roseau and environs. So if somebody has, you find you have too many white goods in the environment and you really need to get rid of it, call us and we'll make arrangement to have it removed to the landfill, please. But do not go about burning stuff in the open willy-nilly.
All right, there's so much more we could say on this, but we're trying to touch as many little topics or subtopics as possible. Another area in which the Ministry of Agriculture and Environmental Health could have this collaboration is where it comes to food handlers. And we've noticed, many of the little snackets and restaurants are closed. However, there are a few that are still functional. Some bakeries are still open. So what are we saying to them? Some people might be concerned that when they go out to these places, when even, if these places don't do deliveries or you can't sit in the restaurant, but you can still pick up. Are the food handlers, have you received any complaints that the food handlers aren't practicing the proper, hygiene or protocols that they need to follow?
Okay, where food safety is concerned, first of all, let me say that there is of date, there is no evidence that the ingestion of food causes COVID-19. But our problem is adhering to the social distancing rule, especially. If you have a food place and you cannot manage a crowd, you should not be open to the public. Okay, social distancing is very, very critical in these food places, the bakeries and so on, the shops and so on. So we advise people to limit the number of persons entering your stores, your space where you sell your stuff and so on. We also advocate to the public, if you are not well, you are exhibiting any symptoms of the flu, do not go to stand in line to pick up groceries or bread or whatever the case might be. Stay at home. We advise that supermarket owners, store owners, and food places do the marking on the floors where you allow everybody a meter space from each other, proper social distancing. And one thing I must say, we've been to some of those food places especially that practice the taking out. And these food places, somehow, they must be thinking that when we talk about social distancing, we are only talking to the public and not the workers.
Oh, okay.
My God, what we saw was appalling. People have to do better than that. The staff, the food service workers, social distancing is like non-existence. It was just non-existing for them. And I mean, we have to practice social distancing as well. And we cannot be at these food places policing people. Management has to play their role. See to it that the staff, their workstations are a meter apart from each other, and these people are not thrown together in one room like ants trying to get out of a nest. That's the best way I can put it. Social distancing is not just for the public, it's for everybody. And whether you work at a food establishment, at a bakery, you have to practice social distancing. That is what will help us take care of the COVID-19 that we are talking about. So we have to practice social distancing. It is key. It's a very, very critical aspect of the procedures we have in place for COVID-19.
All right. Now, P.S. Thomas, as we speak about social distancing and handlers, the folks who sell at the markets, we should also consider them as well. And the market is open for business, right?
Yes, certainly that is a major consideration as well, and the system had to find some balance in allowing for the vendors to continue to provide the food for those of us who go to the market, but maintaining the social distancing as best as possible. So the system had to find some form of balance in this, and so if you notice, the hours were looked at. There are officers at the entrance and exits to us to allow for at least some kind of sanitization, disinfection before entering and leaving the market. The little bars and so have been managed again to allow for only the activities that are necessary as it relates to the selling of agricultural commodities. But if I may just to touch a little bit on what Ms. Thomas highlighted, particularly in the area of burning. The burning of things like plastics, although they are detrimental to the human in terms of causing serious inflammatory conditions in the lung spaces. There's also an environmental consideration, and the release of those some of this carbon material out into the atmosphere and how it contributes to global warming, etc. So I think it's a very important consideration, and we as Dominicans, as homeowners, need to pay particular attention to that. We'd also look at the conditions, the climatic conditions, and see how dry it is, and how this can create many or different other situations as it relate to unwanted burning of some of our lands. We are going into a hurricane season when the rainy season is going to usually brings substantial rain. And if we continue to burn our hillsides, if we continue to burn our lands, that is going to lead to serious soil erosion and the potential for destruction downstream. So it is what Ms. Thomas has highlighted has serious implications as it relates to, yes, the human, but also as it relates to our country and as participants or people who live in this world. We also have a moral and ethical responsibility to protect Mother Earth as we go through that process of life. I also wanted to just touch base on the numbers that we could call. So for us, we have decentralized production of the seedlings. So our initial target is about 300,000 seedlings. But we have decentralized into the Portsmouth, Laplane, Botanic Gardens, Granby communities or agricultural stations. We have also engaged two private individuals, one in the St. Joseph area for the people in the central area, and also in the Kalinago territory. So we try to allow for distribution across the island. So the numbers to call, the Southern Agricultural Office is 611-3645. The Southeast, 611-3125. The North, 611-3453. The Central, 611-3455. The West, 611-3126. The Northeast, 611-3327. And the East, 611-3386. And if you for those of us with who are more in tune to social media, we can always go and Google, do a search for backyard gardening seedling program.
Mm-hmm.
Is at docsdocs dot google.com. I think we'll be able to get through to that page where we can you can it's a form, it's online form.
Mm-hmm.
We continue to collect information from that form to allow us to know who are the people interested, what kind of land space, so it can help us better in our planning as it relates to the planning and distribution of the seedlings to the various individuals.
All right. What we're going to do is open the phone lines now for a few questions and comments. I know the general public is very anxious to get on. They've been calling since the beginning of today's program. So let's take our first caller for the day. Caller, good day, you're live. Caller,
Okay.
go right ahead.
Oh, good morning. I was just trying the number.
Oh, okay,
Good
caller.
You heard me?
Yes,
Good
so
morning.
you
I'm
don't
just
have a
trying the
question?
number, but
All right, caller. Thank you very much. We'll take callers, of course. There's also an additional phone line open to you. It's 449-8719, 1-800-327-448-3284, 616-1327, and the overseas line 305-432-9744. The phone lines are open, so just give us a call if you have a question or a comment. For with us in studio again, the PS of the Ministry of Agriculture, Dr. Reginald Thomas, and the Chief Environmental Health Officer, Tassie Thomas. Now, Dr. Thomas, another concern is about, because your ministry, of course, is responsible for national food security, about importation. We spoke earlier about the exportation of goods, but the importation, there are concerns about, are we still going to be able to import because all borders are shutting down? And also, what about the decontamination of those things when they come into the country?
Okay, so the import of food has its own protocols established under the SPS agreement, and so for protection of our population under our agricultural health and food safety systems, there are the various protocols. They are still in place. They have not been suspended. So while the borders are shut, trade has not been shut down, as far as we know. However, we do not know how long this is going to last. We do not know whether there will be shortages or distribution challenges as we go forward.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why we have responded in ensuring that at least in terms of what is available, what we can grow, what we can produce, that we are heightening the awareness of the population towards that. So charity begins at home every time, and so our intentions are to get our people ready.
Mm-hmm.
We do not know what is going to happen, so I cannot answer your question in terms of whether it will be disrupted, but we are not taking any chances. And so the government of Dominica and the Ministry of Agriculture and the rest of the government system have activated themselves to ensure that at least food security is maintained.
All right, fantastic.
So we have the protein groups, we have our vegetables, the same lettuce and the cabbages that are imported, we can produce it. The sweet corn that is produced, that is imported can be produced. We have the abattoir which continues to run. We can continue to rear our birds and to ensure that we have poultry. So I am not concerned too much about whether we will be able to feed ourselves.
Right.
When we did our analysis of the production on the ground, we from April to August, thereabout, millions of pounds of food. We're talking about the root crops, on the ground. Our eggs, we have sufficient eggs. We have an oversupply of eggs as we speak. So we, from our national systems, we are not, and what we have, we are not too concerned. However, we want to ensure that we continue to plan, we continue to identify where that food is. We want to ensure that there's distribution, because there's one thing to have, but not be able to distribute it to the people that really need it, because people are not moving, people are unable to move. If you have some communities where they may be strong in a particular item, so let's say most of our west coast they are very good on the sea, the fish, so they have protein, but they may not have the other food groups. So how do we get this balanced healthy local food to these people. So these are the considerations that are at play, and we look, as I said, at home first, and then we will look at imports and how long it will be disrupted, or if it is disrupted at all.
All right, thank you so much. Let's take a caller. Caller, go right ahead. You're live.
Yes, good day. Thanks for taking my call. My
Contamination.
question is in relation to the planting initiative. And listening to the PSAs concerning that, it sounds more like a rural backyard initiative or program. I am concerned that people, particularly in urban areas who have some space, are not being catered for. I also, at this time, should be hearing advertisements suggesting to people ways they can plant. I heard earlier that mention made of collection of white goods, for example. But white goods can be used in that program. If you have an old washing machine, the tub can be filled with soil and used to plant stuff. You can grow a yam in a tub. You know, you can grow various crops. You can grow carrots in pots that are used for planting flowers. You know, and I think all of these should be suggested. But there now, at this time, should be advertisement stirring up the people to get excited for that program and how they could plant or what they could plant in. As a matter of fact, for people who are inbound, both people who are in-house because of COVID program, as well as the elderly who don't have much to do, they could be very much involved. They could have something to do once they can move around to water those plants, you know. So I think emphasis should be also made on the urban part of that program. It sounds more like a rural backyard program to me at this time. Now, I would like to know also, when will these seedlings be available? As of what date can people expect to come and pick up plants? Thanks very much.
All right, thank you so much, caller. Dr. Thomas?
Yes, and I would like to apologize if it seemed that it was a rural program. At no time did that we intended that to be. So just to allow the fears of the caller, it's across the country. Every household is being catered for. Of course, the urban and peri-urban areas has its own limitations, and so we are hoping that those who have the space, even your porch, and I highlighted the area of container farming. So the caller actually alluded to that as well. So that's what we're referring to when I said container farming production, where the actual householders or homeowners can use whatever containers are available, ensuring that that it drains properly, that it does not create issues as it relates to mosquitoes and other that can lead to other vector-borne illnesses, but to ensure that whatever containers are used and that can be used in the backyard could be used for a program such as this. So it's open to everyone, every household. We know that there are about 25,000 households. As I said, we've produced about 300,000 seedlings, or are in the process of producing 300,000 seedlings. So far, we've produced about 100,000 plus thereabout at the 5 locations. There are seedlings that are already available and are being distributed. So I gave the numbers. So the caller should please call and engage based on the community where you are, to ensure that you can participate as part of that particular program.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Thomas. We have another caller on the line. Caller, go ahead. You're live.
Hello?
Yes, caller, go ahead.
Yes. Thanks for coming on board for us. I can speak now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I want to say a few things. Besides that, the numbers should be called more slowly and repeated, because by the time you start writing, another number is called on. But the major thing is that all through the ages, when there is pandemic, people must wear. That's means people must wear masks.
Hmm.
If you have masks, and you must take sun and for vitamin D.
Hmm.
Also, eggs boost your immune system. Eggs, sun, vitamin D, and mass all along the century. Mass. All the best. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much, caller. So, Dr. Thomas, just for the caller, could you just call out those numbers again? Just so the caller, just in case she missed one or anybody else missed one of those numbers.
Okay, so the front number, the first three numbers are 611. So I will just go with the final four numbers just to make it easier. So for the Southern Agricultural Region, the number is 3645. For the Southeast, it's 3125. For the North, it is 3453. For the Central, it is 3455. For the West, it is 3126. For the Northeast, it is 3327. For the East, it is 3386. But we will continue to publish the information. So, I mean, this is not the only avenue that we will make the information available. So we will publish that information so people can call in. As we said, there are seedlings already ready to go. So we need people to come in and to participate and to be part of the program.
Okay. We do have another caller on the line. Caller, go ahead. You're live.
Yes, my question is for Mr. Thomas. It's in relation to the abattoir.
Yes, go ahead. Caller.
The abattoir, it's still in operation, right?
Yes, it is.
So my question is that as of now, people are still want to do business with the abattoir, but the problem is that people don't want to do a lot of business with them because of how their payments are. Because people are not getting paid on time. Could you expound on if there's a problem, if the payments are not organized? Why is the payments taking so long?
Okay, thank you, caller.
Yes, so we've recognized that there have been challenges with the rate at which we pay. So the ministry is working as quickly as we can to rectify that situation. But for those that the outstanding payments that we have paid about 80% of that, and we hope to 90%, and we hope to complete by the end of Friday. By Friday, we would have completed the payments for the outstanding amount. So yes, we recognize to the farmer. We recognize that there are challenges, and the ministry is working with the necessary, other ministries, etc., to ensure that this is expedited and the process is as seamless as possible as it relates to payments.
All right, the phone line's blowing up again. So let's take a next caller. Caller, you're live. Go ahead.
Well, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, caller.
Well, the very question I was bringing to Mr. Thomas, the person before me has been to him. Because it's been more than 6 months, the government still owes me money. So they better shake up and do something better for farmers. Thank you.
All right, thank you, caller.
All right, yes, caller, we are aware, and we have taken serious steps to ensure that we have completed all our payments. And as I said, by Friday we should complete all our payments for the outstanding amounts as it relates to the abattoir.
All right, let's get back to the phone lines. Caller, you're live. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. The numbers that were called, Dr. Thomas, you know your regions. But it would be better if you say Portsmouth area, botanical gardens, and that stuff, so people know, because I might not know where is central and where is whatever. What seedlings are available? What could you specify what seedlings are available? And also, I think we need to create a hype about that program. We need to have, you could even set up a competition to see who will grow the biggest carrot in their backyard or in a pot. Set it up that people get excited about it. This ought to be a renaissance period, bouncing back from COVID. It should be a time where you have a fresh energy and a fresh zeal, but you people in leadership have to carry it forward. You have to create that hype. So set up your advertisement should be already going. You should have a program of reward to, okay, I grow biggest pumpkin in that space, and there's a reward. So you have a competitive spirit, as part of that program, being generated as part of that program. So I think you all need to add more speed to that. It's good talking about the payment system. This is something that, yes, it was on DBS. Somebody called on Talking Point and mentioned about not being paid for 6 months for work done, and it's the government owing them. There may have to be a law that is passed, but in a case like that, the person should be paid interest on their money, because they could not use their money. A person can coolly as a result of not getting their money to be able to re-inject it into their business in a timely fashion. So there should be some form of compensation if after 6 months you have not paid somebody. It's not just an apology. Because while you may be in a job and your salary is short, that person is depending on that. And you cool them. So some form of compensation should be attached to their check. Thanks very much.
All right, thank you, caller.
Again, caller, thank you for your contribution. You have made some salient observations. As I indicated, I set them by cardinal points to allow for the understanding of your location. So if you're in the south, which would be Roseau and south of Roseau, you would call a particular number. So I do not. Calling by villages does not necessarily make it any easier. So call one of the numbers, and if you are not in the particular area, they will provide information to you. So at least you will have access. The most important to I think is that you can call and get some information going forward. As you highlighted the point about leading and making the program more visible. That is why one of the reasons why I'm here, so that we can start the discussion. We can discuss the idea and to get people enthused. I take the point of the competition and to look at how we can make that possible. But one must understand, and from my point, from the policy arm, would really like to commend the staff who are out there. They have put themselves, their families out at risk, and are there working tirelessly to ensure that we have the seedlings available and distributed, because we still want to maintain social distancing. So we do not want people to crowd on any one facility asking for seedlings. If this happens, we shut down the operation, because we need to protect our staff and the people who actually come for this service. So it is intended, we are in a organization, we producing, yes, but we're looking at all the and trying to maintain all the, or protect or manage all the variables to ensure that the program is executed in a very seamless and safe manner. So that is where we are as it relates to this program. So we will continue to put out information, both on the media and other forms, in terms of ensuring that the information is disseminated to one and all.
All right, thank you so much.
Sheena,
Go ahead.
one
Yes.
second. Doc, with your permission, you did mention the matter of decontamination of imported cargo, and that is something we have taken into consideration as well as environmental health. It is a tall order. What you find may happen in terms of with regards to decontamination of cargo, you might end up causing more harm than good because the chemical you may use may leave residues on the products, the food products, and so on. So what we advise the people on stuffing the food containers, the imported food containers, that they wear the gloves or hand sanitizers, or they wash their hands with soap and water as they go along, and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Also, with regards to fruits and vegetables, how do you decontaminate fruits and vegetables? As I said before, there is no evidence that ingesting food causes COVID-19. So for fruits and vegetables, all fruits and vegetables should be washed properly with clean potable water before use.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Let's take just about two more callers before we wrap up. Caller, you're live. Go ahead.
Yeah, good day to all. I just want to make a quick point. I was listening to the program, and I just want to make a quick point here. Where the food and agriculture is concerned in Dominica. You know what I mean? And Dominica, if you trace the history of Dominica, we have water, we have land, we have food. You know what I mean? Agriculture being the backbone of this country for many years. And I'm not bashing anybody. I'm not trying to criticize anybody, but it's the reality of what is really happening. Now, in this crisis right now, we shouldn't be thinking to farm now. We should have been farming already. You know what I'm saying? And I see the government wasting time planting flowers for years. I mean, we can't eat the flowers right now. We need food. We don't need flowers. You know what I mean? Everybody could plant their flowers. I'm not throwing the NP or anything, but I'm just saying the reality is we should have been farming a long time. And all this competition we're trying to bring up right now, man, we should have been smiling right now and helping other countries with food because we have the land, we have the water. You know what I mean? And for us to be trying to start a program now when we're in the midst of this pandemic is just going to cause more confusion. Everybody should have been farming already. This is the Armageddon. And that's just my point I want to bring across to the table. I'm not downing anybody, but that's the reality of what is happening right before our very eyes. And we have a blessed day.
Thank you so much, caller.
Thank you.
All right. So caller, what we're talking about this morning is an increased or more heightened awareness to production of food for the household, for the home. That complements our other programs that we have running. As I indicated earlier, there is food in the ground, or in terms of our plantains, bananas, root crops, dashing yams, tanias, etc. There is food planted. There are programs intended to support the farmers and to ensure that the farmers have the necessary inputs. We are implementing a $65 million program under the World Bank, and it is intended to restore our food base. And we brought in well over $5 million of various inputs that are being distributed, and we still have access to, and it will continue to contribute to us restoring our food base, expanding our food base. There's an emergency agriculture program that is being discussed with the financiers, the World Bank, but there would be official communication to the general public, so I don't want to really go into the specifics of it. But the public will be informed of that new initiative, supporting initiative as it relates to agriculture, and showing that there's food, for consumption of the general public. Those of us in the north, we would have seen that the ministry, along with its other partners, Dexia, the Bureau of Standards, Ministry of Trade, have been looking at structuring the way we pack and export our commodities, because we're looking at ensuring, one, that quality produce leaves this island, but also we maintain the requirements of the receiving countries that depend on us, in particular in the northern Caribbean. So there are a number of initiatives, and all of it is in anticipation of the increased demands of commodities that we know should be coming in, not between the next couple of months. So I would really like to assure the general public, but in particular that the caller, that we're not starting from zero. We are just raising heightened awareness to one component, and to again give support to our farmers and fishers who are out there continuing to toil despite the challenges. So we want to thank them. The staff of the ministry continue to provide the support to them, and the other stakeholders within the sector that work with us in ensuring that food security needs are met.
Oh, unfortunately, it's 12:07, and there's another program coming up immediately after ours. So we have to wrap up today's program. I know that many other callers would like to get a point across or a question in. I'm sure the ministry and the Environmental Health Department are available. They are still at work, so if you have a question, you can call them directly. But just a few final comments before we wrap up. Tassie, from Environmental Health, a few final
Yes,
comments, please.
from the environmental health standpoint, I just want to encourage the general public to practice good respiratory hygiene. You know, when you sneeze, you do not just sneeze in the open. As the caller rightly said, when you live in your home, wear a mask. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. You can wear a scarf. It protects your cough, your sneeze, and those things. It remains with you. It doesn't have to go out there and affect anybody else. Wear a mask. If you do not have a mask, make sure when you sneeze you use a tissue, or you sneeze in your elbow. That is good respiratory etiquette. And number one, social distancing. Give everybody a meter space. I saw people walking on the road, and what was left to do was just to hold hands, how close they were. Come on. If you cannot do it for yourself, but think for the family that you're going to when you arrive home. Please practice social distancing, not just for the general public, but also for the persons working in the food service industry, particularly. Make sure you do it at work as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, P.S. Thomas.
Well, again, I think Ms. Thomas highlighted some key points, and we'd like to ensure, or we'd like to ask our farmers, our fishers, and other stakeholders to adhere to the recommendations of the Ministry of Health, particularly the social distancing and that of wearing of the mask. Also, the staff of the ministry who are out in the front lines providing the kind of support so those programs can continue. So once again, from us, from the ministry, we'd really like to thank the general public, thank our farmers, our fishers, and our officers who are out there. As I said, if you have a healthy body, then you are able to fight diseases, fight challenges as it relates to pathogens. So once again, from us, thank you.
All right. Thank you so much to the both of you for joining us on the program today. We want to thank all the listeners of DBS Radio, of Vibes Radio, Q95, Kyrie FM, and Voice of Life Radio for joining us for another COVID-19 discussion. We'll be back with you on Wednesday, God willing. In the meantime, stay safe, and don't take for granted that we already have 8 recovered. Don't take for granted that another 8 might be fully recovered soon. Please continue to practice all the safety measures, all the precautionary measures that we've been stressing for some time. And we want to wish everybody a safe and healthy rest of their Monday. Thank you for joining us.